Welcome back to Lifters, Lift Community, podcast community, wherever you are listening to us. We appreciate you being here. This is episode number 7 of the Lift Chicago podcast. And on today's episode, we are going to be covering a few more questions that we have within the fitness industry. And actually, there's a little bit more specifically myths within the fitness industry that we kind of like to hash out. Worries of some people that come in and ask us certain things, whether it's getting bulky or gaining too much mass from lifting, how long it may take to see results, that kind of stuff that we're going to cover in this next 30 to 45 minutes here. So again, we have Josh, Pete, and myself, Chad, here bringing you guys the podcast. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the podcast. You guys can find us on Anchor. If you just look up the Lift podcast, subscribe there, leave a comment, and we would really appreciate it. So what's up, guys? How are we doing today?
What's up?
What day is it of quarantine right now?
I think it's
1,999.
official
Six.
quarantine, is it, or day 4?
Day 4 of the what is it? The stay in place, or what do they call it?
Shelter in place.
Shelter in
That was
place.
issued on Saturday.
Day 4 of keep your ass in.
I don't know. Let's be honest. Is shelter in place any different than what we were doing before?
No.
I think they've officially closed off all businesses that are not essential. Before, businesses were allowed to continue to run that were not restaurant businesses. Shelter in place is more, hey, keep your ass at home.
Yeah.
But you can still go to the grocery store. I think it was more just like telling everyone that everything's going to remain calm and just chill.
Yeah.
Like, the grocery stores are all normal now.
Yesterday I was there. The anxiety level of everybody is intense. It's like
Oh, yeah.
gloves are on. People are like moving out of the way or like reversing in the aisle because they don't want to walk past you. It was intense, and I told Kirsten last time, I was like, let's just order our food from now on.
Yeah.
Costco has toilet paper though. They have it back in stock, so
How's that not
rush to the
TV?
store.
Hurry, run there now. Stop listening and go.
All right. Well, I guess without further ado, let's kind of hop into it here. One of the biggest myths that we see and we hear about within the fitness industry, and I think a lot of you, especially females out there, would kind of vouch for this, is the fear of getting bulky when starting to weight train, resistance train. I think that I guess it's a reasonable scare because people don't necessarily know, but I think this is kind of predicated on old school mentality on bodybuilding and weightlifting. That when Arnold was first coming out with his bodybuilding stuff, and bodybuilding started becoming more popular, resistance training started becoming more popular, that's all people had to correlate to, and it was those big macho guys that had a bunch of muscle mass. So what have you guys found that you think people, I guess, miss that people have within this topic that you've kind of experienced and hashed out for them? What are your thoughts on it?
I think that as you said, specifically females approaching us and saying, I want to lift weights, but I really don't want to get bulky. I don't want to gain too much muscle mass. Like, that's been a lot of their aversion to coming even in to see a personal trainer, or stick to group classes and stick to running endless miles on a treadmill because they don't want to get bulky. There's this huge fear that if you strength train, you touch a single weight, you're going to get jacked. I wish that was true.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's been like a decade now of training, and it's you don't get that big that fast. You don't get that big ever. It's not a thing. Specifically, and I mean, we can reference this later as far as research studies go, but there's a very, 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 very small percentage of females that produce the necessary testosterone in their body to put on muscle mass as quickly as they're fearing. Men too. Like, some people are predisposed to putting on muscle mass faster, but in general, females aren't producing as much testosterone as men, and it is something that is not a legitimate concern once you get through the stuff that Chad was talking about, the preconceptions that you might have with weightlifting. In general, when females approach us, in general, when people talk to us, they want to lose fat, gain muscle, right? And the biggest word that I hear from females, I want to get toned, which to me is another way of saying you want to lose fat and gain muscle, but more in a tighter way, a slimmer way. One of the words I hate the most is I want to be skinny, right? The word skinny to me, I think like scrawny, right? Bony, unhealthy, frail. If you are talking about, hey, you want to be healthy and have a positive body image and look well, weightlifting is absolutely essential. You're actually going to burn more calories by consistently weightlifting than you are constantly doing cardio. If you are weightlifting and actually causing your muscles to break down and regrow and so on, the more muscle mass you have, the leaner you're going to be. It makes your body burn more calories at rest. Your metabolism will be higher, everything. So
Right.
it's something that if you are staying away from the weights, you're actually doing a disservice to yourself and getting to the place you want to be.
Right, and I think a little bit to add to that, you were talking, the stronger that you are, the leaner that you are. I mean, from what I've read and researched, isn't it true that stronger muscles are actually leaner muscles? They hold less water over time. So, for people that are out there thinking that they are still, regardless of what they do, that they're gonna build too much muscle mass and build too quickly. I think that's another misconception, how quickly they will actually build muscle mass and how difficult it is. Like, if you actually really tried to build a bunch of muscle mass, how hard it would actually be, how much you would actually have to eat. I mean, you guys have done it, I've done it before. It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
Extremely hard.
It's not
Yeah.
sustainable
Yeah, exactly.
in regular society with the job and all that.
Right.
I would say, Jeff, with my female clients, for the most part, I tend to go towards the fact that I usually lift, 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week, try to stay active. I'm not a big guy. It's
Right.
just not gonna happen, right? I know my body type where I'm comfortable, but yeah, coming in even 4 times a week at 45 minutes a session, you're not gonna get big.
Right.
Super big. I mean, you can. Yeah, we can pump out isolation stuff, and biceps and triceps. Your arms aren't as big, and
Right.
we can make that happen. But it's really just you're not going to get super big. Absolutely.
Well, what Chad just said as well, the funny part is, and we're playing females against males here. Females have a fear of getting too big too fast, where males have this idea in their heads that they're going to get really big really fast. And they're like, oh, I'm going to do this for like 2 weeks and I'm going to have a 6-pack and be jacked, right?
Yeah.
It's a funny,
That'd be nice.
yeah, it's a funny seesaw kind of thing. Like people come in like, oh, my wedding is in
7
and-
days.
Yeah, my wedding's in like 60 days,
Right.
right? And they don't strength train on their own. They don't do anything. They're not strong. Like I wanna look good for my honeymoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll make some sort of additions to your physique that you might like, but you're not going to be anywhere near where you want to be in 60 days.
Right.
This is inconceivable. Like I said earlier, I've been weightlifting on and off since I was probably 18, 19 years old. Not knowing what I was doing, then knowing what I was doing, and then setbacks and so on. But what I am now is a sum of all those parts, and I'm not even close to some of these people who are the ideas what people have in their heads what people would be. Like
Right.
same with you, Chad. Like
Right.
you probably take the best care of your body than any of us, and I mean, yeah, you got a nice physique, you look good, bro. But you're not this person that people be like, oh, that guy looks gross. He's like a mass monster. Like that's the thing,
Oh,
It's like
right.
And like I think
It's
I
not
used
that
to
strong, bro.
I used to do a lot of bodybuilding reading when I was in high school. I had all the magazines. I read all the articles.
Yeah, Josh is secretly a meathead.
I was.
He's not telling
I'm
you.
not a secret meat. I'm a real meathead.
It's
But
12 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches a day.
oh yeah. But in the articles, and it was like people trying to figure out like how much is a conceivable amount of muscle mass gain a year, right? If you are strict with it, and I believe what I was reading was 5 pounds of muscle mass a year if you're strict with it, and I believe that's probably accurate.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, what's 5 pounds of muscle mass really going to look like on your physique now? Like you might look a tiny bit bigger, but like think about if you distributed it through your whole body.
Yeah.
But now think about over the course of 3 years, you're talking 15 pounds of muscle mass. That's a considerable amount. If you stick with it, 5 years down the road, you're talking about 25 pounds of muscle you just added to your body. So now you're talking like, hey, you're in your mid-30s if you started lifting in your 20s,
Right.
and you have 20 to 30 pounds more muscle mass on you than you did when you started. And now you're like, hey, I stuck with this and it's consistent. And now you're looking back at the people who are like in their 20s, young people like, yeah, man, I'm lifting for like 6 months. I'm huge. Like, wait till you consistently stick with this for 10 years.
Right. So I actually, I've kind of had, I haven't like kept like, I have photos from like, vacations and stuff, but so we were talking about it last week and I came to the realization, I think Jared and I were talking about it, and I came to the realization that when I left high school, which was, what was it, just about 10 years ago, I was 155 pounds and probably like anywhere from like 5 to 6% body fat. Like I just finished basketball, I was like pretty shredded up. Right now I stand at like 210, and like when I did the in-body the other day, I was like 214 with like 7% body fat. So that just shows you like, over the course of 10 years, that's how long it's took me to get to what I am right now. Granted, like Josh, I haven't been strict with my stuff for, probably 8 of those years. Yeah, I ate pretty well. I ate high protein. I ate my fruits and vegetables every once in a while, but like I'd go out on the weekends and like smash burgers and fries and like do whatever the hell I wanted.
Have to.
Because we were so active. But I just think that, like, just to show the time span, like I didn't even realize that I had made that much progress in that much time, but that just shows like how long it actually takes to really get people there, and that it's not gonna just happen overnight. And I guess I'm kind of like the flip side of that. It really bugs me when like dudes, especially guys like for like weddings and stuff, they're like, oh, well, I could go do like push-ups and curls and I'll be fine. Like if you actually took measurements of how big you were and you trained for like 2-3 weeks and took measurements again, you would have zero difference. Like the girls, it's weird because the guys have a perception of, oh, I can go do X, Y, and Z in 2-3 weeks and be ripped. Girls have the perception of nothing will ever happen, I will never change, kind of thing. I just think it's like so skewed that.
So it's funny, like to elaborate what you're just saying, like people's like ideas and perceptions of what weight training does to their bodies. Literally yesterday, one of my friends texted me, "Hey man, I keep getting sent all these push-up challenges, and during this quarantine, if I do like 1,000 push-ups over the next month, is it gonna make my chest look all weird?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, if I just do straight regular push-ups instead of doing like incline push-ups, decline push-ups, like bench pressing and all that different stuff that I normally would do, is it gonna make my like muscles like unequally distributed?" And I texted you last night, like, am I like going crazy here? Like that question to me was such a like, people believe this? Like you're still doing the exact same motion. You're doing a horizontal press. You're not doing a incline press, a decline press, anything differently wrong. Your body is not going to make weird morphological changes because you're doing the same thing, a push-up over and over and over and over. It's not going to be like unequally distributed. I just think that people's perception of what weight training does to their bodies, they don't know what's happening. And that's part of the reason why we're doing these podcasts, and in general, part of the reason that I became a trainer, you guys do what you do, helping people through this because they really don't know.
Right. I think for me, the biggest part with that male-female perception when they come in the gym, I think a lot of it has to do with the neuromuscular adaptation that we see when someone starts weightlifting, right? Because most males, when they come to us and they're 30 years old, they've lifted at some point, right? So for the most part, they've lost that neuromuscular adaptation that's going to allow them to see stupid results in the first 3 months. A lot of the females haven't. So there's kind of a way that females come in, they live for 3 months, and they will see a pretty drastic difference in maybe what they look like or how they feel or how strong they actually are. And while that's not like a huge, massive buildup or blow up of the body and the muscles, I think that kind of plays a part in exactly how people think about it, male to female wise.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, so I guess let's give a little bit of insight, like why people might be saying, well, okay, well, I lift 1-2 times a week, but then I do like a bunch of group classes. Or for someone that's like, yeah, I do a shit ton of group classes, so I think that's enough exercise. Like, what's the difference between the stimulus that they're getting through the group classes and why that's not enough, and why they should be resistance training on top of that, or just resistance training and doing group classes is like the dessert?
Volume.
So touch on that a little bit. So like people, they don't understand what the over volume is, what too much is.
Yeah, so group classes is, it's basically the objective, right? Get your heart rate up, get you sweating, kind of like what we talked about yesterday. Get you moving, and just kind of make you feel like you worked out, right?
And
it's kind of the...
Yeah, and I would say for the most part, and I just want to add this in real quick, for the most part, most group classes are designed 15 minutes before. Like group instructors are either, like at big studios, they're probably told exactly what to do, or if you have smaller studios that, they're just kind of, for the most part, they're probably going to throw that workout together 15 to 20 minutes before.
Or cycling through it.
Exactly, or they're cycling through papers of what they have before.
If you really pay attention when you go to group classes, some of these, especially the big box fitness spots, you'll notice you're doing the same workout 2-3 times
Just
a
in
month.
different order, or
right?
yeah.
So you know, I mean, they'll throw the same workout in the same order. But I think the biggest thing is, like I say, volume is how many reps are we doing? How much weight are we adding? That's why there's such a, in my opinion, importance to personal training, right? It's personal to everybody that we see.
Right.
Not one of my clients has the same workout.
Right.
Just wouldn't make sense.
Same elements at times, but not necessarily the exact
Yes,
same.
you might have the same kind of setup, right? Whether that's, you know, someone might be on the trap bar, someone might be on the kettlebells, right? And there's a very strategical difference to those and how we set that up. But, you know, some people, based on their goals, may need to do a few more reps, a few less reps, a little more weight, right? Different movements. But it's very important that your goals are set up to the exact volume that you need. So whether that's a 6 rep scheme, an 8 rep scheme,
Right.
a 10, 8, 6, 12s, 15s, whatever that is, it should never be the same, right?
Right.
You should never say, well, everybody goes 10 to 12 and 12 to 15, kind of like we used to see a few years back. But yeah, big thing for me is volume.
And I think we see it in here, you know, you could have one client come in and they do whatever, 70 pounds on the pull down for 12 reps, and you have another person that comes in and they can do 70 pounds on the pull down for 15, 20 reps. You know, they could, so when you go into say those two people would go into the exact same fitness class, now they're both using 15-pound weights. One, it might be a little too heavy, one, it might be really, really light, and the load is not there to build solid strength moving forward. So I think that's also a big part. I think people are over-repping and underloading when they should be getting to the right load and probably taking back the reps.
Oh yeah.
For me, touching on this group, why groups are not enough. It's one of those themes that I talk about a lot, all of us talk about a lot. There's a difference between exercising and training, right?
Right.
In a group class, because you constantly have people cycling through, it's not the same people, you can't really build on a program, you're just trying to put out a good class. It's exercise. There's no progressive overload for the most part, unless you are literally going to this class over and over and you are tracking your own things, which does not happen.
Right.
Likelihood is you are grabbing the same exact weights you grabbed last year, the year before in the same class, and you're just exercising. You're doing it for a sweat, you're doing it for caloric expenditure, you're doing it so you stay fit,
Yeah.
which is nothing wrong with that. But because you are doing exercise, you are not progressing past a certain point. In the beginning, if you start doing this and you're like, man, I've never done anything before, I'm gonna take these group classes and wow, I'm losing all this weight, I'm putting on muscle, this is great. You're gonna hit a spot 4-6 months down the road where you plateau. There's not
Right.
gonna be any sort of gains beyond this. And then a year later, and I've seen this a lot with my own clients, people come to us from group classes, hey, I've been doing this group class for 2 years, I was seeing really good results in the beginning, and now I'm not really seeing results anymore. And then it's like, okay, well now we're gonna take your exercise and we're gonna do actual training. Training is programmed, it is progressible, it is, as Pete mentioned, personal, so we can get your goals and your rep schemes and your weights up, so you see those incremental improvements over time, and then you actually see the results you're looking for. So in addition to the exercise that you do, which we don't tell you to stop doing that, keep doing that exercise. It's still caloric expenditure on the days that you're not doing your actual training. It's a great piece to the puzzle, but the biggest piece of the puzzle missing is actual strength training. So this is the thing that I tell all my clients who come to me for the first time, hey, I really want to be toned, I really want to be skinny, quote unquote. I want to be toned, I want to look good. Well, what are you doing? I'm doing group classes. Okay, this is what you need. And then they start doing this with us in addition to that, and they're like, wow, now I want to come 3 days a week, now I want to come 4 days a week, and so on. But then you start to see the shift where they used to do 4 days a week of group classes, now they're doing 4 days a week of strength training, and they might do a group class.
That's right.
And that's the biggest thing that I've seen over the 10 years that I've been doing this.
And it sucks because there's certain people that are big homers on these group studios, which is great, but at the same time, they look at us and they're like, as soon as we start downplaying, as soon as we start changing the modality of how we want them to train, like what's actually going to be beneficial for them, they start getting a little bit hesitant. So it takes a little bit for us to kind of gain that trust and kind of convert them over. It's not, yes, by all means, we want to make more money through our business. We want people to be here as opposed to somewhere else. But at the same time, we want to provide them with the best knowledge possible. I think it's a disservice to them if like this whole entire thing that we're talking about with training was the opposite way and was unsure, and we were still
Right,
trying
right.
to get people back. So it's ultimately giving them the best info and then letting them kind of be able to see it, work their and navigate their own way, and eventually it leads back to, like we said, they're in here more than, or they're doing some type of strength training more than they are classes, and I think it's really beneficial. So I think that we hit that topic pretty well here. Let's move on to myth number, I guess, not necessarily myth number two. I guess myth number two would be results. How quickly do we get results? I think people have this theory of, it's all about like the 28-day or 30-day fix, right? And people just kind of lose sight of long-term progress and consistency. So what would you guys say if someone is coming in, say they're brand new, they have never really trained before, like how long should it be until they are actually seeing some type of like strength and physique results?
Well, there's two levels to that, right? The very beginning of I'm sedentary, now I'm working out, right? So there is a big difference there. I have one client who came in, signed up for I think it was a Black Friday package, and he made it it was a 45-minute session. He made it 7 minutes. 7 minutes before he was killed over the treadmill. Couldn't see stars, about to puke. And I think, look back 3 months later, and he did 4 45-minute sessions in 1 week. And that's a massive increase, right? So you go from 7 minutes to 4 45-minute sessions in 1 week, all with, added weight and cardio elements, but he absolutely killed it. So I think there's a level of, you will see results right away if you don't do anything at all. If you're sedentary, you will see results right away. But with most of my clients, I play the long game, and it is, like my very consistent clients, I'm very upfront with them. We're looking at, 18 to 24 months before we start to see the results that we really want to see.
So I agree with everything you said. I'm going to go back to my own personal experience because for me it's easy to talk about personal experiences. I remember when I first started weight training. I was in high school and I started doing all these isolation exercises and bench pressing and so on. And I was a little scrawny kid, and that first 6 month period when I started weightlifting were some of the biggest increases that I ever had. And this is in general, this is something that most people will see. So as Pete just mentioned about someone coming in from sedentary to actually doing work, and as Chad mentioned yesterday about compound exercises, building the framework for an actual home, that's the most important part during that time, but I digress on that. The most important part, what I'm gonna say now is, it's all about neural adaptation in that beginning stage.
Right.
So when you first start training with weights, it's something you've never done. So as your body starts to adapt, as your neurons start to adapt, you actually are able to start doing the actual movements properly, and your body learns the movements, and your muscles actually adapt to the stressors. You're gonna see a ridiculous increase in your strength gains and your physique gains in the beginning. Right, so that first stage is very important. If you're doing the wrong things, you're still gonna see great gains, but you're missing out on an opportunity to build a house. Now, because people might see these awesome gains in the first 6 months, and you will if you're sedentary and you start doing stuff, they get hooked, right? They get hooked, they want to continue to do this stuff, which is awesome. It's the biggest thing that you can ask for as someone in this profession, right? Once those 6 months are done, or around that period, and they start to see their results plateau, some people get, discouraged from it, and that's when you start to see attrition. So when we're talking about how long does it take to see results, you're gonna see results immediately. However, it might take you 2, 3, 4, 5 years to get to the actual thing you want, but that shouldn't be a discouragement for this whole situation. It should really be hey, you're setting yourself up for a healthy lifestyle, you're continuing with this lifestyle. Right. So why would you stop? It's because you're not seeing the results you want to see yet. Right. This is something you should be continuing to do, and we'll talk about later in this podcast when we start talking about the implications of this as you age. But yeah, you might see your results immediately, but there shouldn't be a floating misconception out there that, hey, this is going to be a quick fix, or this is going to be a temporary thing, and then I'm going to be set for the rest of my life. Because as you stop working out, you do lose muscle. Your muscles do atrophy. Your body does not want you to be big and strong. Your body wants to be as Chad mentioned yesterday, the homeostasis level, it wants to be efficient.
Yeah.
We were out there hunter-gatherers. If you don't get to eat because you couldn't hunt today, or you couldn't get a big enough kill to feed your family, your body needs to be able to adapt to that. That's why we have starvation modes and all this different stuff in our actual in our body's mechanical processes. So the whole thing is stick with it. You're going to see results eventually. You're going to see results initially, but as you continue to do it and as you continue to pay more attention to it, your results are going to get better over the longer term.
Yeah, I totally agree. I guess my 2 cents on this is, I talk about this a lot with a lot of my, I talk about it a lot on my social media and with my online clients. It's just straight up patience. Like, people aren't fucking patient enough with any of this. They get into this and they're like, oh, I'm gonna make this little quick fix, but I think this is gonna work. They have this quick, kind of short-term mindset, and they're lost from the start. Like, they have no control over where they're going because all they have is the next 2 weeks to 3 weeks in mind. And I always tell people, like, I had one client come in, it was like January 14th or 11th, I think, and she was like, oh, I lost like 5-6 pounds since the start of the new year, but I don't see it working at all in the mirror. I'm like, well, it takes way longer to see any results in the mirror. She's like, well, I need to be quicker. I'm like, well, it's not going to be quicker. It's just straight up. Like, I don't know what else to tell people.
There's no magic pill is the biggest thing.
There's zero magic pill. It's straight up patience and consistency. And that's why people, like, I always say this, people that have practiced patience and consistency within the industry have results, and they know that patience and consistency works. People that haven't had that say it's false, and they don't. So people that haven't practiced patience and consistency will say, oh, you guys are liars, like, this actually doesn't work. They're jumping from program to program, diet to diet, seeing what's gonna happen and what's gonna be best for them, when in reality, all they need to do is just choose one thing and just be really consistent with it.
Yeah, I mean, in general, humanity, all of us, are very impatient creatures. Like,
Well, yeah.
impatience runs rampant. I'm impatient as hell.
Yeah.
I am. I want instantaneous results with everything that I do. I know that I can do something faster than if I ask someone else to do it. So a lot of times I do that. But as far as this practice of, weight training,
Right.
to me, if it's something that you're actually passionate about, which is easy for us to be, we understand. We understand that it takes time.
Yeah.
We enjoy doing it. If you're someone that doesn't do this and you hate the pain and you don't like any of this stuff,
Yeah.
it's easy to see how you don't want to do it, so you're looking for shortcuts.
Right.
The 8-minute abs, the 90-day shred, the magic pill, all these supplements that are promising all this
Cryo.
stuff.
It's a topical cryo.
Yeah, cryo to kill your fat cells and all this different stuff, right? It's not this stuff. If you see an instantaneous result or a quick fix result, you're not going to stick to it. If you're someone who, like, I'm looking for the right word to say here. So, if you get a quick result from something as a fix, it's not going to last. It might fix itself in the short term,
Right.
but because you're doing something that isn't a sustainable long-term modality or a long-term fix,
Yeah.
you're going to revert to exactly how you were, or sometimes even worse. People do these crash diets,
Right.
and they lose the weight they want, and they're like, oh, okay, I look pretty good. Now I'm gonna go like slack off and I'm gonna eat
Yeah.
as much as I want, and then they wake up 15, 20 pounds heavier than they were when they started it.
Right.
Because it's all, and we can talk about this another day, the calorie expenditure versus the calorie consumption and all that stuff. If you want to get the results, we have an awesome tool here. We have our in-body body composition analyzer, which gets your basal metabolic rate based on your body weight, your height, your fat content, water content in your body, etc. And you can get your total daily energy expenditure from it. We work with nutritionists, and from that, you can actually see how much you should be consuming on a daily basis. If you want to gain weight, gain muscle, you can be above this amount by X amount. If you want to lose weight, you got to be below this amount, right? So these are all the things that have to come into place here. There's no secret. That's it. That's literally it.
Yeah.
The way I like to put it, most of my clients is just simply look at some of the best ergogenic aids out there, right? So ergogenic aid, anything that's going to help you. I go to lap band surgery. They will literally cut your stomach open, basically tie your stomach off in half. You can still get fat. Steroids. Yes, they help you gain muscle. You still have to work your ass off, right? You have to work extremely hard. These are some of the best ergogenic aids out there, and you still have to work hard. There's zero magic pill,
Right.
and if someone sells it to you, they're probably a piece of shit. So
Absolutely. All right, we good to move on here?
Yeah.
That's good coverage. Did we cover Royalers gains and?
I can touch on that for a little bit. I talked about it for a second, but we can keep going on that.
Okay, so myth number 3 here is, you know, if you stop strength training, that is that what this is? You stop strength training.
So
you're going to
essentially-
lose gains and you
Yeah.
gain fat, and the
Right.
muscle is going to turn into fat.
Right, so it's one of those biggest
makes
things
sense.
out there that's like, hey, all my muscle turned into fat because I stopped working out.
Right.
Or, hey, during this whole coronavirus outbreak thing right now, I'm not working out, all my muscle's gonna turn to fat.
Right.
That's like saying that I turned my apples into oranges by them just sitting there
Sure.
or whatever. They're two completely different organic materials,
Yep.
muscle and fat. They have zero correlation to each other, one can't turn into the other. What you put into your body can contribute to one versus the other,
Right.
as I just mentioned before on the caloric expenditure versus consumption. But your muscle does not turn into fat. As I did mention prior, your muscles can atrophy over a long period of time of inactivity,
Right.
and then your continuous caloric consumption, which will be above what your caloric expenditure is, will contribute to fat.
Yeah.
So you stop working out, your muscles atrophy because they don't want to be big and strong. They want to go back to that state where your body can be functional without having to worry about food coming in. And your fat content will increase as you continue to eat, stuff your face, because you're no longer as adapted to consuming calories, because now your muscle mass is decreased. Your caloric consumption will now decrease.
Right. Yeah, I think even one of our guys, Jared, he just wrote a blog post. We actually just posted this. If you guys want to take a look at it, it's how detraining affects your strength and muscle mass. And again, just touching on what Josh was talking about the atrophy, he talks about in here. It roughly takes 28 days of no resistance training to see a serious drop in absolute strength levels, and it even shows longer for drops in overall muscle mass. So for people out there that are fearing if they're not exercising currently, if they're not doing as heavy of lifting as they used to, there are still modalities and ways that you can maintain muscle mass, like increase your protein consumption, do something active,
Yeah.
whether it's like the live lift classes that we have here, or you're doing your own training at home. There are ways to maintain muscle mass through good nutrition and just some good quality training, whatever you can get in. So I think that kind of that's a good overarching. We can kind of get into it a little bit more. We could probably get someone out here that even knows a bit more about than we do about this. But let's go into the next one. Myth number 4 is that all weightlifting will lead to injury or you'll hurt yourself, joints, aka like squats are bad for you, that kind of stuff. So let's kind of dive into this. I know that we probably all roll our eyes at this. I'm going to start out, I guess I'll start here. I personally think that we need to take into consideration that the motion of the body, to me, motion is the body's lotion, right? So I always say that to clients, like, hey, if you're sticky, if you have joints that hurt, if you have problem areas, if you have muscles that are, that are giving you bad soreness or pain, we need to move. The body is looking to move, it's not looking to stay still. So anytime that you have a little bit of pain, we need to find some type of modality to move. And I think that kind of will lead into that, I don't really think any type of weight training or strength training is going to, unless it's done poorly, lead to injury, I guess exacerbate problems. What's your take on all this?
Well, I know research has shown us that in sport, weightlifting is far less likely to injure you than the actual sport that you're participating in.
Right.
So when we look at athletes at the college level, runners are far more likely to get hurt on the track than they are in the weight room. Basketball players are far more likely to get hurt on the court than in the weight room. So I think that, and in reverse, right, the weight room is actually helping prevent those injuries on the track, on the court, on the field, whatever it is you do. If you're a tennis player like Josh here, guy can swing it. But you're just far less likely to get hurt in the weight room than the actual sport that you're doing. So a lot of classes, you know, I can count on one hand the amount of times I've had a client in here tell me, this is killing me now, or I'm hurt, or I'm injured. Some people may think they are, they just need to kind of relax and let it calm down a little bit.
Mhm.
But I cannot count on one hand the amount of clients I have that says, hey, I went to, you know, I won't put any other gym names out there, but I went to this gym and my hamstrings messed up, or I went here and now my foot's hurt, my ankle's hurt, and all this other stuff. So I would say you're far more likely to get hurt doing the other stuff in exercise than actually weightlifting. And I know research tells us that. You can literally find the research articles.
Yeah, I think that I really always stand by that strength training is bulletproofing your body. It's not going to
Smart strength training.
smart strength training is obviously I think it's going to bulletproof your body. You're going to enhance blood flow and nutrients to the muscles, to the ligaments, to the joints, to help them feel better at the basic layman's terms of all this.
So, as someone who has been injured during weightlifting and who's had nagging pains and everything during weightlifting, I will say and still vouch for the fact that no exercise is inherently dangerous. Shitty form or using too much weight before you are ready for it is what is dangerous. So, working with a trainer, especially a good trainer, will make sure that you stay healthy and continue to, as Chad said, bulletproof your body. Now, if you're watching some of these Instagram videos and all this stuff going on right now during this quarantine, or everyone's putting out their content, you'll see a lot of form breakdown. And people trying to emulate what they see on these screens with the people who do not have the proper mechanics lead to injuries, right? So there is no inherent exercise that's dangerous. There's stupid exercises, burpees, that we constantly talk about.
Rage.
But in general, strength training, weight training is good for you. So I have some research articles that I can reference. But before I go into that, it's not just about your muscles. It's also about connective tissue. So obviously you have muscles. Muscles are connected to bones through connective tissue, connected to other muscles through other connective tissue. So you have ligaments and you have tendons. As you continue to strength train, yes, your muscles adapt to and have adaptations to the stimulus provided on them, right? That's how your muscles get stronger and bigger. The connective tissue also has adaptations to these stressors. A lot of research has been showing that connective tissue is also getting stronger from resistance training. So now, going back to our point about group classes as well, before we're talking about exercise versus training, now we're also talking about the load. Overload is what increases muscle mass and strength. Overload will also increase the strength and resiliency of these connective tissues in the body.
Right.
So that is a very important part of getting injured. You see ligament tears, sprains, strains, and so on, right?
Yeah.
You see all this stuff happening.
This is while lifting.
No,
Okay.
this is while performing sport or doing activities, right? You're not going to tear your ACL doing a deadlift. It doesn't happen. You might tear your ACL on the court.
Okay, not that word, bro.
You might tear your ACL on the court or out in the field, right? But the forces that are being put on these ligaments when that's happening are stronger than the forces that they are adapted to. So as we continue to strength train and our muscles get stronger and our connective tissue in response to the muscles getting stronger and the stimulus also gets stronger, they're overcoming certain loads that they might see in real life situations. Now the times that they do tear or strain or so on
Right.
are those loads being higher than the loads they've experienced before that they've adapted to. And that happens.
Right.
You're thinking about a 300-pound linebacker running as fast as they can, pivoting. That's a ridiculously high load.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something that you continue to train for, but it might not help.
Yeah, I think one question someone might have about some of this stuff is like, well, you know, there's certain exercises that I don't, that my body doesn't feel really good doing. Whether it's like squat, dropping down a squat, like my knees kind of hurt, or doing some kind of bench press, my shoulder kind of hurts. I think that throughout your fitness journey, you're going to have days, you're going to have phases, you're going to have certain exercises that don't feel the best. And my suggestion to people that are saying, well, you know, if this hurts, should I be backing off and not doing any lifting? No, I think we can always work around it. You can always choose different exercises that don't cause you pain. You can always, you know, manipulate the exercise to assist with that, and then we can kind of start to try and work back into those movements. So I would suggest to people, hey, for the given day, if you're feeling any type of pains, let's program something that's going to either go away from those pains or kind of work through those and work around them, see if we can improve movement and then improve load on top of that and moving in the future. Because I think a lot of people are like, well, you know, they just don't squat whatsoever because the one time that they squatted, they either hurt themselves or when they squat, oh, my knee's cracked or my hip hurts, that kind of stuff. Instead of manipulating it, whether they do a leg press or more or less like, hey, see if we can get into a reverse lunge, they're just avoiding all lower whatsoever, and it's actually doing them more harm than if they were to just try to work back into it.
Yeah, I think
Go ahead.
kind of touching on that, I have a really good friend who's a physical therapist, pretty well educated. We'll have him on one of these days, but it's normal to have joint pain, back pain, right, spine pain, knee pain. Over 85% of us are going to have pain in our knees, in our back, right, all these things. The thing I would say is, I know it happens to me all the time. I'm walking up the stairs and I feel something in my knee.
Yeah.
I don't just sit on the stairs and say, oh, can't go up, can't go home, right? Can't go to bed. No, you keep walking, and usually by the time you get to the top, it's gone. Right? It just happens. It's supposed to happen, right? It's not even, it's how do we process pain and stuff like that? I mean, there's people, for us that lift, when we have pain, we know it'll be gone in a couple days,
Right.
and it is. But
We
some
know how to
people,
navigate it a little bit more, yeah.
some people that come in here, if they feel their back hurting, they're automatically, I'm going to be off work, I'm going to lose money, I'm not
Right.
going to be able to move, I can't walk around the city, I can't play with my kids, and really it's just soreness.
Well, yeah, and it's amazing how many people come in here with a little bit of like low back stiffness or like hip stiffness, something like that, and as soon as they start to move, and like, okay, how are you feeling? Oh, well, I don't have any pain right now.
Yeah.
And all it was a little bit of movement, maybe a little bit of mobility, and a little blood flow to the area that is going to help alleviate all that pain. So,
One of my favorite Chad Driscoll quotes of all time.
oh no,
I don't know if it was.
I don't know what's coming
I don't know
out
if he
right
was
now.
the originator of this quote, but he introduced me to it on this topic here. If you think weightlifting is dangerous, try being weak. That's some dangerous ass shit. You remember saying that?
Yeah.
So that is the overarching premise, or I guess topic of this entire discussion that we just had right here, is if you don't weightlift because you're afraid of getting hurt, you're going to be really hurt as you age because you're weak as shit and your body will not be able to function.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we're seeing it now, even like the age that my grandparents are in. And I think you guys would probably say the exact same thing. Your parents and grandparents that are getting to that age where their bones are becoming a little more brittle. They're not as coordinated as they were before. I know for a fact that my grandpa, he really hasn't done any type of like strength training before, but he was just straight up active for a lot of his life, and he's way ahead of the curve in terms of his overall fitness than say someone who has done nothing for it. They have a bunch of pains, they don't go to any PT, they don't do any type of walking, they do zero exercise. You're gonna see these people like I'm sure we all know, I'm sure people listening have family members that don't do any exercise and they're constantly in pain. They've either hurt themselves or had surgeries. There's a direct correlation between exercising, especially resistance training, and as you age, that it's going to help you kind of prolong that. And that's going to kind of be what we're going to transition to with our last myth is, as you get older, should you be lifting weights? How should you be lifting weights? And what's your topic? What do you think about that?
So I'll start this whole topic off with a study that I'll reference here.
Sure.
And in general, probably already been saying, should old people be lifting or advanced age individuals be lifting? They should have been lifting the whole time.
Right.
All right, and we're going to get into all the topics and everything else, but I have a published study here in the Journal of Sports Medicine, and it is the effect of high resistance weight training on reported pain in older adults. And some of the key points that they're discussing in this entire article and study are improved strength in older adults had a positive effect on the perception of pain. So as Pete's talking about, you're walking around, oh, my knees bother me a little bit. Oh, well, I'm used to having some discomfort from weight training and resistance training. So now I can take that and and be like, oh, this is just uncomfortable. It's not
Right.
It's not excruciating pain. Point number 2, the number of painful areas identified and self-reported pain qualities were diminished following high resistance weight training. So the reported pain and multiple spots of pain were reduced by weight training.
Right.
Their bodies are getting a little bit stronger, more blood flow. They're getting stronger. They're getting healthier. There's less pain. And that's where I'll cut that. But in general, they're saying that this is an effective tool in the measuring changes in pain perception as a result of training. Right. So as Pete was mentioning there, it is a good tool on top of just being stronger in general. Weight training is a good tool to help you kind of like oversee discomfort versus pain.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I think it's a constant kind of relationship battle that we experience with our clients, and even with my relatives, like with Kirsten's parents, my parents, friends, getting them to realize that the pain that they feel, like what is it? Is it soreness? Is it actual nerve pain? Is it something muscular? Is it more joint focused? So getting a relationship with pain is going to help you kind of navigate your training. It's going to help you navigate your life in general. And I think when there's a disconnect, we immediately focus on, a lot of people focus on pain as debilitating, rather than you can still move, you can still do things. They're solely focusing on, oh, if I have pain, I need to go to the doctor. I probably need surgery, and in my opinion, it's a freaking terrible relationship to have, because it sucks. But a lot of times, people come in with pain, say they have knee pain. The doctors and the orthopedics that you go to want surgery.
Well, right. Yeah.
More money.
If you go
More
to
money.
a surgeon, they're gonna want to cut you.
Yeah.
If you go to a physical therapist, they're going to physical
They're
therapy.
going to do the role that they
Yeah.
do best. Yeah.
Right. So for us, and like Pete mentioned this earlier, like, and sort of Chad, like, yes, this is a business, right? The overarching theme of this business is to continue to have business. And we build this trust over time with people. We're not in here prescribing things just for financial gain.
Right.
We're in here taking care of people. We have personal relationships with our personal training, right? We're only going to do with people what is best for people. When people come tell me what they want, and I know that their wants should not outweigh their needs, I tell them. I have a client that I have to constantly tell, no, I'm not doing that with you because it's not good for you, even though they want it. They ask me every single time, I want to do this, I want to do this. I'm going to tell you why you can't do this.
Right.
We can work towards getting to that point, but you can't do this.
Right.
And in general, we function as PTs a lot of times because we understand prehabilitation, we understand rehabilitation, we also understand the return to play afterwards. As a strength and conditioning coach in the NCAA, a lot of the times when you had special cases where you had injured athletes, they'd go to the athletic trainers, and then it would be a return to play scenario when they come back to you.
Right.
So we understand how to deal with people post-surgery, post-injury, and so on, right? We also understand how to deal with people during those injuries and everything as well.
Right.
So to Chad's point, the whole thing with pain, we know how to deal with. The biggest problem is, for most people, pain equals pain. There's no levels of pain.
Right.
Pain is pain. I'm hurt, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with old people, I say that lightly. It's the one thing we know is the stronger you are, the stronger your muscles, the better you can react in the real world, right? I
Right.
kind of mentioned it yesterday. Tripping off a curb, right? Can you stop yourself without falling down, breaking your wrist, breaking your hip, whatever it may be? The other thing we know is how do your bones get stronger, right? Most people think, I gotta go in the sun. Yes and no, right? Your bones,
To drink milk.
yeah, no, that'll cure it all. Stop drinking soda.
Cashew milk.
But your bones get stronger with the more stress that you place upon them, right?
Absolutely.
So the way that they literally grow is the more stress you put upon them. So not to take a shot at bigger individuals, but you hear a lot of bigger individuals say, I'm big boned. Well, they're not lying, right?
Right.
They have bigger bones because the
Because
stress that they've
yes.
been putting on their body as they move around is more than the rest of us.
Right.
But, that just goes to say, the more that you lift, right, the more that you leg press or squat or do all these things, and you directly put that stress upon the bones, the stronger they will be. So the older you get, we know your bones will become more frail, especially if you're sedentary.
Yep.
So keep lifting, get your bones stronger, your muscles will be stronger. You'll be able to keep doing activities that you think that you shouldn't be able to do, right? And even if it's, you know, not a program, you just need to be active. They need to be doing things.
For
My,
sure.
my dad's been lifting for 30 years. He's never had a program. He goes in the gym, he picks some shit up, moves it around,
Absolutely.
hops on the elliptical, and he goes home.
Mhm.
And so he's not super strong, but he's also not frail and weak. He's never had back pain, right? Now, I wish he would get on a program because he could be strong, and you know,
Right.
but you have to be doing something, right? Go to your 55 and up community gym and go move some shit around. Get a trainer, whatever it is. Old people should be lifting
Yeah.
and doing exercise.
Well, what Pete just said, the more stress you put on your bones, the stronger they get, which kind of adds to my point earlier about the more you strength train, yeah, your muscles get bigger, but so does your connective tissue. Well, so does the things those connective tissues are connected to, the bones.
Still live cells.
And like he's saying, making your bones stronger, you know, the aging female population is highly predisposed to osteoporosis. The more dense your bones are, the less chance you have to deal with some of the fallout from osteoporosis, which could be bone breaks, easily brittle bones break. So as a female, as you start training, you continue to train into your late 30s and 40s and 50s and so on, you're lessening your chances of having issues as you age. And it's very important. I have my mom in here training all the time. I need to. Even if she tells me, hey, she might skip a day. I get on her because I need to make sure that she continues to resistance train so that she does not actually feel the effects of getting old.
Right, and I think to your point, like even with your parents, like I'm super grateful that that my parents are that they're very active and they strength train. Reason number one is because I know that they're probably going to live a lot longer. They're increasing their life expectancy, increasing the amount of time that I'm going to be able to spend with them, and I think that's just a huge hit for me. And that kind of it's kind of for me what it all boils down to. The more that they exercise, the more that they strength train, the longer their life expectancy is going to be, and the more time that like they're going to have to spend with me. They're going to have to spend with eventually their grandkids, and maybe even so on. And I just think it's super cool, and you know, I'm grateful that you know that Kirsten likes to be active, that other people like around us and our friends like to be active, that you know the people that come work for us like to do it too. Like it is a proven thing that is going to benefit your life. It's going to prolong your life, and it just makes no sense to me that people don't do it, even in the lowest capacity, right?
Yeah.
Walking.
Well, think about also, as we talk about the advanced age, I don't know, what's the best way to say it? Aging population, let's say that instead of old people. So the biggest expense for aging population is medical expenses, right? As you get older, your doctor's visits go up. If you have issues with your body breaking down, you're gonna spend a lot of money on medicine.
Right.
So younger people now, and we mentioned this the other day, there's a shift now, preventative care.
Right.
Exercise, strength training, resistance training, all this different stuff is preventative medicine. It is. So as you continue to do this now, yeah, some people may be like, oh, it's expensive to do this, expensive to do that. Hey, if you can't hire a personal trainer, it doesn't stop you from exercising or going to Planet Fitness for $10 a month. You gotta do something, because the money you spend now will be money you save later.
And in surgeries and
I mean, if you
time
have
medical fees.
can you imagine if you have osteoporosis, early onset osteoporosis, you're like 50-year-old female, has osteoporosis, you have brittle bones, you crack your femur in half. You're going to be out of work for a long time, you're going to be paying a lot of money on surgery, you're going to be spending a lot of time, and your quality of life is going to be extremely diminished.
Yeah, so my grandma actually had, it was a while back, but she had osteoporosis or restenosis, whatever. Her doctor recommended like a calcium supplement first, before any type of like resistance training. And I think there's studies that show resistance training yields way more ossification of what are they called,
Osteocytes and osteoblasts that make up osteocytes.
But they stimulate way more and build way more bone density than any type of calcium supplement. And the fact that people like still think that they have to drink milk for calcium is freaking bonkers, because broccoli and green vegetables has 5 times the amount of calcium that a whole like fucking thing of milk will have. And I mean, it's insane to me. The milk industry has capitalized on the fact that they have calcium. Like, put the milk away, strength train, eat green vegetables, you'd be just fine. That shit just bugs me. It is beyond belief that people still do it.
It's
so.
milk though, bro.
I can't stand it.
Overwise, whole milk. There's no sugar in that.
No, not at all. All right, do we have anything else, guys? Do we have any questions on the live stream? Let me check real
The
quick.
only question that I got yesterday was posted a video and someone asked me, it was a squatting video. Someone asked me, why did I raise my heels? What do you think?
Is there anything pertaining to what we were talking about today? You want to go ahead and answer that first?
No, not really. More or
Okay.
less, so just much just for the chest. Dumbbells, no.
So in general, when you see squat form breakdown, you're going to see people's heels come up. You're going to see people dropping their chest. Raising your heels maintains a more vertical shin angle, which maintains a more vertical spinal angle, or I guess your chest up. In
yeah,
proper
I mean,
positioning.
it takes away the ankle mobility.
Right. So it basically just makes it so you can perform the exercise as it's supposed to be done without any sort of restriction. So it's an aid.
Right. I also think I was actually listening to them with you guys. I don't know if you guys follow them. They're a great follow, but they were talking about elevating the heels has actually been shown to activate the anterior tib. So for people who don't know that, the anterior tib is the muscle on the front side of the shin. So just as much as you want to mobilize and stretch the back side, the calf, you also want to work on activating that anterior tib. And they say like when you raise up the heels, it's false ankle mobility, but as you drop down, you can really work on kind of pulling up onto that anterior tib and almost bringing the toes up. That's going to help improve the mobility of the soleus and the calf, which was super interesting to me. Yeah, we talk about it with like pails and rails and things like that. But yeah, that's I think a huge part for people that elevating the heels. If you have to, like I do when I squat, because I know right now, like with the other things that we have going on, I don't take enough time to work on my ankle mobility. My chest falls over a lot when I have my feet flat on the floor, and my squat form kind of breaks down. So I think for a majority of people that I see, squat faults come from the ankles and then kind of work their way up the chain. So yeah, I would say that's definitely
Yeah,
a big
absolutely.
part. So
That was the only one I got. The only thing I wanted to do was, I just want to give people one tip a day. I'll post it on my Instagram as well. My tip today is going to be, don't sit on the couch, grab an exercise ball and sit on that
interesting. Why?
instead of the couch. Because if you get lazy with it, you're gonna fall off, right? You kind of have to engage your core. You have to sit up tall, right? You have to keep your feet flat. It's exercise without exercise, right? Essentially. So get off the slouching couch, sit on that exercise ball.
Another thing on that, if you don't have an exercise ball, or if you are someone who's like, screw that, I want to lay on the couch, which I've done all the time when I get home, because I just want to literally unwind and lay on the couch. What I tell people sometimes who are extremely tight in the low back, or their hip flexors are really tight and so on, hey, do the couch stretch during commercials. Toss your heel up on the, toss your foot up on the couch, have the other foot forward, basically, if you can imagine a split squat position, and push your hips forward. As you straighten your back out, you're going to feel an extreme stretch on that, whatever foot is down, whatever leg is down. You're going to feel a really strong stretch in the hip flexors, quads, and so on. It's something that's super easy to do during a 60-second commercial break. Do the other side of the next break. Do this for an hour of time, right?
Watch his commercials, bro.
Yeah, Tebow. Yeah, this is all great, guys. Let's let people know where they can find us and where they can listen to us on the podcast. You guys can actually go to the link on our Instagram page. Our Instagram is lift_Chicago. Through there, you're gonna find us on Anchor, and if you go to our Anchor page, you'll be able to see all the spots that you can listen to us on the podcast. Really, any podcast app that you have, whether it's Apple, Google Play, or Spotify, you can type in the Lift Podcast and you'll be able to see us, all the episodes that we have. We really appreciate it if you guys leave a review and subscribe to the podcast. It's only going to help us provide more content and continue to build this following. So we really appreciate you guys being here. It's been an awesome time. Until next time, this is Chad, Pete, and Josh with the podcast. See ya.
Peace.
Peace.